Why do you paint?
I paint. As a matter of fact, just stop thinking.
Welcome to Freedom to Fight. I'm your host, Anura Mathis, and I have another exciting episode to share with you. I have tediously worked to edit this episode for you, but honestly, I think our conversation is so vibrant that not a lot of editing needed to be done. Of course, some tweaks needed to happen, but the content is really, we have a really beautiful conversation. I have a rare opportunity to interview Chris Fowler. He's a BJJ abstract artist and black belt. He's many more things than that, but he's a really fascinating person, and I want everybody to know about him. I feel very lucky and special to have been able to sit down and talk to him. And I hope maybe he can come on the show again or something. Okay, without further ado, introducing Chris Fowler. Thanks for listening. Recording on my end. Does it say it on your end? It
Yes.
should be in the top corner. Okay, awesome. Okay, well, let's get started. So my name is Anura Mathis. I'm the host of Freedom to Fight. This will be season 2, episode 3. And I'll just kind of let you introduce yourself, and then I'll kind of get in the flow of things. So,
Okay. All right. I'm Chris Fowler. Now, but before I do that, I just want to let you know, Anura doesn't know this, but I am the most introverted, awkward, bad at speaking person in the world. So that's gonna happen. But I'm an artist. I'm a jujitsu black belt. Kind of feels weird saying that because there's so many good jujitsu people out there, and I'm just a guy. But if you see me in the jiu-jitsu, I'm gonna be wearing the belt, so whatever. Yeah, I do jiu-jitsu themed paintings recently. There's one back here. Yeah, so I'm an artist and I do jiu-jitsu.
Awesome. So, Chris, I'll be totally honest. I didn't realize you were a black belt. So much better.
Yeah.
So happy about that. How long have you been training?
I don't know, maybe like 11 years now. I started when I was about 24, 25, somewhere around there. 24.
Okay.
I actually quit
That's
a job
really
to start training jiu-jitsu.
That's so cool. That's amazing.
It's probably not a smart decision, but I did it.
Well, I mean, it kind of got you or helped you to get to where you are. Excuse me, right?
I guess it worked out.
Yeah. I mean, a black belt, that's like lifelong commitment.
Yeah.
At least I mean, that's over a decade.
Yeah, I mean, you just keep showing up and coming enough that eventually just have to give it to you, right?
Yeah, I guess that's gonna be my mentality. I've got 2 stripes on my white belt, so
Okay.
I'm on the other end of the spectrum. Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu is a lot more fun when you're a white belt than a black belt, I think. In a way,
Why do you say that?
because when you're a white belt, jiu-jitsu seems, which it is, so vast and mysterious. And the more you learn, the less mystery there is. I mean, there's no way you could master every technique or get good at everything. There's still things I'm terrible at that I want to get good at, but the mystery kind of leaves as you progress. And then honestly, sometimes jujitsu can be just boring. I used to, when I was the white belt, I would leave practice just amped, just like adrenaline and testosterone going. I'm just amped. Now I could leave jujitsu and just take a nap. It's just not the same. So enjoy the white belt stage, I guess.
Okay. Well, hopefully I'm not here for too long.
Yeah. Blue belt is my favorite belt, I think. To get your blue belt is like the favorite one.
Okay. That's my goal, but I stopped training for a while
Yeah.
because of a serious injury. And
Okay.
yeah, I've talked about it on previous episodes. I talked about it on yesterday's episode, but I had a concussion that I was hospitalized for a few times. So I'm still kind of recovering, not physically, but mentally
Okay.
from that trauma. So yeah, I'm
Do you
like,
mean mentally like remembering things, or mentally like you're scared for it to happen again?
yeah, probably the latter. So probably just like the triggers. So I've tried, my injury was October of last year. I tried in November, December, January, and February to join different gyms and to get started again. And it just comes up every time. So I then focused on therapy and healing that way and meditation and things like that. And now I'm at the point where I want to try another gym. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Well, that's good. I guess just I don't know. I'm not an expert and stuff like that, but don't be afraid to choose your training partners or turn someone down or just choose them
Yeah.
wisely. And
Certainly, yeah. I've learned a lot through that injury, but I want to say, I'm also introverted, but you're
Mhm.
doing an awesome job. Like
No,
I can't tell.
oh, good.
Sorry
I think
to highlight it.
a lifetime of trying to hide it, you know, get
Yeah.
practice.
Well, if you don't know, I'm sure it's on my Instagram page and somewhere on Facebook, wherever we're connected. But I'm a trauma therapist,
Hmm.
the mental health professional, and I think that's been really helpful in my recovery because I've helped other people through their traumas.
Yeah.
So this is me helping myself, and it's, of course, it's not just the injury that I'm healing from. It brings up all the surrounding traumas too, but I'm kind of grateful for it. I mean, I'm I wouldn't choose it again, but I'm grateful for all of the lessons that I've learned from it, and I'm much stronger than I was. We'll be right back.
The difference between school and life. In school, you're taught a lesson and then given a test. In life, you're given a test and that teaches you a lesson.
But that's good. I think I've heard people say injuries um, can help. I've been pretty lucky to not ever have a bad injury until like recently. In the past 6 months, I hurt my knee pretty bad. Um, I'm just coming back from it. Um, and while I was hurt, I knew I was gonna. I didn't go to the doctor because I didn't want to know how bad it was. So I'm just gonna let it heal. I'm sure it was like a meniscus tear. I'm gonna let it heal. I'm gonna do some rehab on my own and come back very slowly. But while I was out, I knew I couldn't train for like 2 months probably. So I have my grappling dummy, and I'm just adding to a part of my jujitsu with my grappling dummy every day. So when I came back, in a way, I was a little better than when I left. Very
Mm.
out of shape and just get exhausted, but technically I had added something. So maybe injuries can help, can be a blessing, maybe in a way.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe that's what I should do, is get a dummy, a
Oh yeah,
training
you should get a dummy.
dummy.
So I mean, some of these things are like I don't know, like $1,000, but you can get a pretty reasonable price when it helps me. I learn most now through the internet and this grappling dummy.
You know, I'm curious if you have people come over that are not training in jujitsu that see this dummy and say anything.
No, I keep it in the closet so nobody sees it. Thinks I'm weird.
Oh goodness. I don't have you ever seen the show Dave on FX? It's Little Dickie's show.
I know what it is, but I've never seen it.
Oh my gosh. There's a dummy on the show. If you ever watch the show,
Uh-huh.
there's a dummy on the show and it keeps getting highlighted and it's this whole joke. It's disturbing in a way, but
Okay,
it's not for jujitsu.
okay, I'll go look it up.
Okay. I want to talk about your art because it's so peculiar and I'm really like I'm a fan. I mean I want to buy your art. I want to showcase your art. So
Thank you.
talk to me about how you got started in doing I guess in general, painting in general, and then how you've integrated jujitsu into your art.
Okay. Well, I've always drawn and stuff like that since I was a little kid. I think my mom said my first drawing I ever did, she wrote 3 years old on it. It was a Batman symbol and a thing. So I've always done it just forever. And then when I got to college, that's when I started. I didn't paint until I got to college. I started painting. Then once I graduated college, I quit painting. I just didn't have time. I just did. I became a teacher. So I was like, I wasn't an artist. I was just being a teacher, which I hated. But I'd always painted people, realistic people, portraits and things like that. Um, and I wanted to do things involving jujitsu, but I couldn't figure out a way to do it in a non cliche way. Like I can be a cynical person and me just painting a person in an armbar just seemed too on the nose. So then I started thinking about, well, let me paint something that people who train will better understand. So let me paint the feeling of jujitsu. How do I paint the feeling, the emotion, the intent that you feel when you're training with another person? You know, so it became less about depicting it realistically and more about the movement of certain techniques and the things you feel when you roll. So I made the shift from realism to more abstract type of paintings.
That's really awesome. It makes me want to get into painting. I'm not artistic in that way, but maybe I am. You know, I haven't explored it.
I think anyone can do it. I I think what I think it's a skill that you can learn, and I think people see it as something you're born with, which I think probably certain people are. Some people are born, they have a good singing voice, or they have an ability to pick up an instrument or learn a language easier than others. But I also think it's just it's like an interest that I have. Like every kid draws when they're little, you know. But I just found it interesting enough to keep doing it, or artists find it interesting enough to keep doing it. And as you keep doing it, you just keep getting better.
I'm so glad you said that. Because the things that you listed are the things that I'm pretty good at.
Hmm.
And you said languages and one other thing. But it's really about practicing it. And if you are finding some joy in doing that activity and you're doing it over, that's how you improve. You just keep getting
Right.
better.
Yeah.
Um, so you also said something about feelings. So the way that you feel when you're training in jujitsu. So I want to ask, what does that feel like? And then what does it feel like to paint?
Well, there's a bunch of different things. Like this painting, it's my favorite jujitsu memory. It was just I was a white belt, so I was so excited about training. I live at the beach, so there was this gym. It had these big doors, like garage doors that were open up, and it was a morning session, maybe like 9, 10 a.m. The beach is close by, the sun's shining in on the mats, and I'm just so excited to be training jujitsu. And it was just like I felt like I was like in Brazil in the old days. I was like, oh man, this is what it
Yeah.
must have felt like. So that's a happy feeling. There's other times when you are exhausted and getting crushed, and it's the opposite feeling. Your
Sure.
brain's trying to give you every excuse to tap and make this stop. It's things like that. And other times it's just about energy and movement and the feeling of success as you see this move work that you've been practicing, and you just swept up in it, and then it works, and it's just a whole. That's why I feel like I could do these paintings forever, because there's so many feelings, so many memories and techniques that you can kind of never run out of ways to
Right.
express that.
Yeah, I think of jujitsu as an art. I mean, I know it's a sport, it's
Yeah.
competitive, but it's super artistic. I think it's kind of like an extension of ourselves. Like it's like uh, I think that being creative is part of our human nature, and I think that it's just another way to express ourselves, but it really helps us kind of come into ourselves. I don't know how well I'm explaining this, but
No, I
it's
know what you mean. I know what you mean. I've always been a guy who's like a contrarian. I want to do things differently than everyone else. So if it's like a mainstream something, I go away from it. And it's a lot of that is the same with my jujitsu. I favor um, more unorthodox techniques, stuff you don't see used as much. Like I never wanted to play De La Hiva guard because everybody did De La Hiva guard. So I was like, I'm not gonna do De La Hiva. Everybody does it. I'm gonna do something cooler. I'm gonna do reverse De La Hiva with a spider hook. Just so the techniques I choose are kind of go along with that part of my personality, I guess.
I don't know what either of those things are, but I would like to learn them.
You will.
Yeah. Um, do you train in any other martial arts?
Um, I'll do striking sometimes. My striking used to be as good as my jiu-jitsu, but I just kind of as the years went on, I just did more jiu-jitsu and less striking. I'll still jump in there sometimes just to keep it I don't know, from totally going away. But it, mainly those. I never did any sort of martial arts until I was like out of college.
Um, I that's how I got introduced with striking,
Hmm.
Muay Thai,
Hmm.
and I it's dangerous, but I love it so much. Kind of because it is dangerous. Um, but I like kicking. I like the kickboxing aspect of it. So and elbows. It's just I love it so much. And
Yeah.
I think I love um Muay Thai and BJJ really and wrestling kind of equally, but they're all different. So
Yeah.
um I can't wait to do that. I remember that my first class back after my injury, I went on these tours of gyms. I just did a free trial to kind of feel out the gym. And I walked in and they were having kids class and the adults class was in the back. Well, they just had a glass wall to separate us. So all the parents are watching their kids and then also watching the adult class.
Mhm.
And I think I got there early, to sign my paperwork and stuff, but they took a long time. So I was the last person in the class. So they put me in the front. I was trying to be in the back. And then they didn't only record it, but they live streamed it. So I'm in the front and I'm like, I knew all the combos, like they didn't know what level of training I was at. They hadn't met me before. And I'm like flying through the air, just like doing all this crazy stuff because I'm in it. And the adults are just like, what is that? Like jaw drop. It was quite an experience, but I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to go back. So I didn't go back after that class.
What made you start training? What made you want to go?
So I've taken like self-defense classes before. I'm from Texas. I was taking classes in Texas, but it wasn't ever, the classes weren't quality. There was no consistency. So we would take a class 1 month and then 2 months would go by and then there'd be another class. So it wasn't like an ongoing class, which is super important. And the instructors were not really able to train with us because they weren't in good physical health. So that didn't encourage me to keep going. I didn't feel like, well, if I get attacked on the street, I'm going to be fine. Like I didn't feel that way. So I wanted to find something that was more structured. I will share with my audience. I've been in dangerous situations before. I've been in abusive situations before. I've been in all kind. I've been followed. I've been stalked. I've been all of that before. So I knew I needed to kind of develop some skill to defend myself. So I signed up for a women's class in Colorado. That's where I am now. Just Googled it, called the instructor, and I joined. But I didn't know that he was the real deal. I didn't know that he'd been training for 16 years and like, um, it was still actively training, and that it wasn't just like a women's class where we're like, um, like bonding and that's an important aspect of it. But it wasn't just that. It was, let's teach you the skills that you need to not die, to get
Yeah.
out of these situations. So
Yeah, some of those self-defense videos or whatever, I think that's some of the most dangerous, irresponsible things on the internet. Try giving women a false sense of security with these techniques that don't work. And even if they do work, that's not something you can see in a video one time, learn, or go to a class one time, learn it, and then in the heat of the moment, remember to pull it out. Even if most of it's bad. Most of the stuff I've seen is bad. It's always just elbow him, groin strike, and then the guy doesn't know it, like he never considered that would happen to him. But it's just bad. I can't stand when I see those things.
right.
It's so dangerous to me, giving a false sense of security to these people. But at least you were smart enough to recognize uh, all that, to know that that's, it's not going to cut
I've
it.
got brothers. I'm kind of a whatever, a tomboy or what have you. But I fought my brothers because they were trying to fight me when I was younger. I did some fighting with my sisters too. Like that stuff that I was learning was not going to help me defend myself. And yeah, it's really irritating to see because I'll get ads on my YouTube because I'm looking at jujitsu videos or something, and like that's not real. That's not going to help me. Like,
Yeah.
it's so irritating. But yeah, I'm really grateful that I found it, and I'm grateful that I stuck with my training as long as I have because my a couple of my brothers have trained too, and I know that I'm better than them. So I just would love to just use it on them, but just one day.
Well, I'm glad you kept going because it's so hard to get started and to keep training. It's a scary thing to walk into a gym because there's so many misconceptions already. I think a lot of people think when they walk in there, it's like they're going to be on a cage in the UFC, you know. And if they get tapped out, everybody's going to go, oh, and it's going to be a scary thing, you know. So everybody's usually nervous about walking in, and then once you start training, it's not fun, you know. In a way, it's not. It's fun learning, but then when it's rolling, you're losing all the time and losing, and I can see how people quit. Um, so anybody who starts and keeps going, you know, that's a you already had this. It's a big thing to just do that.
Thank you. I'm not I'm not taking my healing for granted. You know, I'm going to take the time I need, but this is what I'll do for the rest of my life. I know that I knew beforehand. So to answer the rest of that question, you know, why I kind of pursued this is from a trauma standpoint, I know that martial arts helps to heal trauma. That's in science literature. So I'm the type of person that oh yeah, like let's see if this works, you know, like
Yeah,
it's written in a book, but is this real? So and it is. It helped me heal a lot of trauma. I mean, it also did produce some trauma, but only only because of safety measures were not practiced, you know, very well. But and not throughout my entire training because that was my first serious injury. So I know that it helps. That's why I decided to create the show and try to spread the message. Like, hey, join.
yeah,
It really
yeah.
will benefit your life.
Yeah, there's only been. I mean, I'm not gonna say there's only benefits. There's so many benefits to training. Um, I don't know how gyms don't have just like a waiting list. There's so many people wanting to train, they just have to turn people away. But it seems like it's so hard to get people in, just in the door. So I don't know, spreading that's a good thing.
Are you in South? No, you're in North
North
Carolina.
Carolina.
North Carolina, which is South. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it's the
the
South.
South.
Yeah.
The South.
Yeah.
I'm I'm from the South, and I grew up in a way that you know violence was just terrible. Texas is violent, but I grew up believing that you should never be violent. You shouldn't even express anger. You know, like you should just kind of fall in line. I'm the youngest girl in my family, so really, like don't only speak when you're spoken to. Don't react to things. You know, this is the structure. You have to follow the structure and don't question it. Which then I then grew up wanting to rebel against all of that. You know,
Yeah.
of course I'm going to question everything. I'm going to make my own structure. You know, like uh, but I'm glad that I kind of came from that because it's really I'm really attracted to things that are unique. Like maybe, you know, in 20 years, jujitsu is not going to be as, you know, as quiet in its space. You know, maybe it'll just be widespread, but I'm glad that I have that part of my personality that I'm really attracted to those things because I'll do it forever now.
Yeah. I, yeah. I think the thing you said about uh, being taught to steer away from conflict, which is true. You know, don't go around beating people up or trying to get in a
Right.
fight, but you should be able to. I don't know. Should be able to take care of yourself, but also be able to have a comfort in those type of things. Like if you see a first day guy or girl do jujitsu, there's usually one of two ways a new person will uh, roll or spar. One is super aggressive, like so overly aggressive, and the other one is the other way where they don't want to be too physical because maybe they feel like it's going to be offensive or it's going to start a real conflict. So you see guys like they don't want to touch you or their hands. they're rolling and that they don't want to use their hands. But yeah, I think I was one of the people, like, I didn't when I first started striking, I didn't want to hit people too hard. Like, I would not hit them too hard. So it took a while. Not like I'm, not swinging as hard as you can like knock someone out, but it took a while to be like, oh, it's okay to crack them a little bit, you know. So I think that's ingrained in a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of how I really didn't want to hurt people.
Yeah.
And I think I will always be that way. Like I'll always have a high level of empathy. Like if I've seen my training partners or friends, what have you, roll and get hurt, and I feel that hurt. So I'm like, I don't want to hurt people, but I don't want to do it unintentionally. I want to
Yeah,
hurt you intentionally. I want
yeah,
to do it on purpose.
yeah, I know what you mean. It the worst thing that could happen to me is if I hurt someone, because that means I my technique was bad. I wasn't in control of myself. It just shows like a lack of understanding of the sport. So I anybody I roll with, I am very sure to take care of. Like, I'm a big leg lock guy. I'm very into heel hooks and things like that. So if I'm going for a heel hook, which is, it's a dangerous move if it's applied in the wrong way. So if I'm going for a heel hook and I see that a guy, maybe his understanding isn't as high and he's doing something that puts himself in danger, I'll let him go. The tap isn't as important as saving this guy's knee. So I think that's a big thing, especially in jiu-jitsu. Take care of your training partners, and that should go above you getting a submission. You know, be controlled.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I talked about it on my episode yesterday, but it's just everybody comes into a jujitsu gym or an MMA gym. It's people have their own motives, and um, to be careful, like you said, be selective with the people that you roll with. It's it's more important to uh show people that you care, that you're not just trying to murder them. You're not just trying to injure them. We have to take care of each other's bodies. I'm practicing on a human being. So I'm always going to keep that in mind, and it's not just their body, it's their minds. I mean, there's no separation. So to do I remember there's a time that we were doing we were it was sparring, but kind of like it was like a version of sparring in Muay Thai, and I kicked somebody in the face. And it was very satisfying. But this person got upset. They were not happy. And I did not see them after that. I don't think they stayed at the gym, but I but I think I just kind of bruised his ego a little bit. I think that those things are important to maybe that was what he needed to experience, but it's important to hone, to refine that, to make sure that you're not just an asshole.
Yeah, yeah. If you can, I tell people a lot of times when they're better than their training for, I'll see a guy, maybe he's a purple belt or a blue belt or whatever, and he's rolling with someone who's a white belt. He's smashing them. He's on top and he's smashing them. But hey, maybe with this guy, you go on bottom, you work your guard, you work mount escapes, so you can get something out of this. Both of you can get something out of this training other than just you getting 20 taps and him tapping 20 times.
Yeah. Um, exactly. Okay, I'm gonna kind of transition into mental health talk.
Okay.
I want to make sure to keep integrating that because that's my expertise. So, what are the mental health practices that you lean into? Are you Have you ever gone to therapy, or how do you feel about that? That's a lot of questions. So I'll start with what mental health practices are you into?
Oh, I just thought of something I want to ask you later, so I want to write it
Okay,
down.
sure.
Uh, anyway, I don't want to forget, and I know I will. Um, I I've never been to therapy. I think it's not like I don't believe in it. Um, and I'm not super educated or versed on it, but I just feel like innately that therapy should have an end, maybe. But I don't know because I don't feel like I've ever experienced anything where I needed therapy. But I just feel like at some point it should end, and maybe some people just keep going to it too long, or they don't have the right person, or whatever. I don't know. You can tell me what you think about that.
I
But
so want to. Yeah.
but I, I'm a guy I never get too up or too down. If something great happens, good, but I'm not gonna just yeah, because I know something else is coming down the line. There's ups and downs to life. So if I'm in a down, I go, okay, you're in a down moment. It's not gonna last forever. There's gonna be ups, and then because the worst things can happen to you, and then 5 years down the line, you don't care anymore, and that's over. Because I've seen bad. I mean, I've had bad things happen to my life where I thought my life was over. This is it. My life is done. Um, my mom ruined her life, like drove it into the ground, as bad as a person can do, really, and then recovered and had a great life. So there's ups and downs. So I never try to get too up or too down. Um, and the other thing is, I know we're not talking about it, but jujitsu. I remember one day I'm at home. My sister calls me and she says, "Hey," she tells me that our grandma died, and my grandma was like a second mom to me. My dad wasn't really around that much, but she was like a second mom to me. And she told me, I got off the phone. I said, "Okay," and I started crying, and I cried pretty hard for about, I don't know, a minute or two, and then I said, "Okay, it's about 5:30. I got to go to practice." And I got up and went to practice. I think some people wouldn't have gone, um, but it was like, are you never going to go again? Oh, of course you're going to go in. So just go now. And then while I was there at the time, I didn't think about it anymore. I mean, I was able to it just wasn't in my mind. I'm sad again after, but it just seems like that I'm able to deal with most things those ways, not getting too up or too down, and training. Those are two. Also, I don't know how, everyone's different. Everybody has their own thing. But for me, if I read the Bible or watch like a Bible podcast, it seems like a lot of times whatever I'm having trouble with or is on in the back of my mind somewhere will come up. That's just me, but those are things that seem to happen to me or seem to help in my life.
Yeah, okay. I first want to say I'm sorry about your grandmother's
Oh, it's
passing.
weird.
But I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Obviously, it helped you that you took some time to um, grieve, and then you went into training. And I've done that. Oh goodness, I've survived a lot of things. People that know me well know I've got a list of traumas, but one of the traumas that I experienced while I was training was wildfire here in Colorado. It was massive, and I saw it from my window. I sensed that it was going to happen, and I was like, "Oh, just let's ignore that. Let's just go about our day." But then it was like, "No, like billions of dollars of property was burned." But um, didn't want to stop training. I didn't have heat or water for a couple of weeks, and I figured it out. I figured out how to I took a shower at a neighbor's house, and uh I was like, I want to train. That's really what helped me kind of get through that experience because I didn't have any family near me. I had my dog. But it really helped me through. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that's a way of healing. That's what my show is about. But also spirituality. I didn't bring this up yesterday in my previous episode, but I'm glad that you brought up the Bible and what the other things that you lean into, because that is part of therapy in a way. Like that's part of there. When I say therapy, I don't mean just traditional talk therapy because there's other
Mhm.
versions of therapy, but I just mean kind of mental health healing. And
Okay.
yeah, I think that I probably lean more into my spirituality than I do in the structured, typical talk therapy.
Oh, that's interesting. I don't feel like you usually hear people in that field talk about that.
It's really too bad. I talked about it on my this first episode of season 2 with my mentor. Um, we both have had similar experiences, but he talked about not spirituality is not really integrated into therapy, and it's like that's that's like a core part of human beings,
Yeah,
like where we come from and how we're connected to things. And
yeah. As long as there's been people, there's been some kind of a person trying to connect somehow spiritually. So why wouldn't that be part of even the scientific study of uh, mental health to therapy?
so there is in ways, but it's not well done. It's like there's a there's not an even balance of the two. I think that I don't want to get in trouble. But he said it already. My mentor said it already, but there's really kind of a lack of skill when like spiritually based practitioners are leaning more towards the spiritual side rather than the scientific side. And you really need both. You need a good understanding of both. Um, and I'm gonna integrate that in my practice. I've taught clients meditation and things like that, but I just I think it's really essential. I think practitioners are really going to have to sort that out because we're doing a disservice to our clients.
From an outsider just looking in, it seems like it's made to feel like one or the other. You're either going to go to church and talk to your preacher and read your Bible, or you're going to go into therapy. To me, on the outside looking in, that's how it seems.
That is exactly what it is. And it sucks because it's like we're talking about the same stuff. We just have to be able to communicate in both languages. And um, I I've been really fortunate to connect with the people that I have, that have just really helped develop me as a person. But I can talk about both real easy. I can sit, I can analyze, this literature and tell you what it means in these terms. And I think that's really what mental health practitioners are going to have to do, because we're adding to that separation, and that's not good, from my perspective. So you mentioned something earlier about there should be an end to therapy. There should be like a time where you're not going, or what have you. Sorry. And I agree with you. I think that talk therapy has done a lot of good, but people go for 10 and 20 and 30 years of their lives and
Mhm.
like fire your therapist, please. You're not doing it. This is not good.
Yeah.
And people become reliant. They're not seeking for the answers within. They're seeking from another person that, might have some answers. They might but they're really, really my job is to help you find the answer, help you,
Yeah.
reconnect with yourself. So certainly there should be an ending. And in my therapy journey, I've gone through a lot of therapy, and I enjoy it. But it's never been really for the same issue or with the same practitioner. Like I'll see a therapist for a period of time for this period for this issue. We're
Yeah.
gonna work through this, and then there's an ending. And I think the rest period provides some introspection. What did I learn from this experience? What can I take from it? How can I apply this in my life? And I almost feel like mental health practitioners should get themselves fired in a way, like, like in a good way, but say, hey, listen, I think you're in a good spot. I think we need to terminate sessions and I want you to go practice it. Because if you just keep coming to me for answers, the problem's never going to be fixed.
Yeah. I was thinking about what you said about the introspection. That's what was in my mind when I was talking about that. If you don't, I feel like if you don't take the steps to either change a behavior that you're doing or steps to deal with whatever problem that you're having, yeah, of course you're still going to therapy because it's not resolved, and maybe then you're just using this person as like your journal, your diary. You're just saying this is what happened to me today or whatever, and you're not changing anything. And I know everyone's different, every situation is different, but I don't know. I just if if I had to go to therapy, I would want it to end at some point. If I had like a personal trainer to lose weight and I hadn't lost any weight, I would not have that personal trainer anymore. Or I would look at what I'm doing wrong. Am I still eating terrible or whatever? Just
um, I agree. I have really high standards. I want people to fire me if I'm not doing my job or when I'm not needed anymore, and make a clear distinction of what that looks like. But I want to talk a little bit more because I've already done it. I've already kind of bashed some of the practitioners, so I'm just going to push forward. I also want to say that part of the reason why clients are in therapy for so long is because people that, including myself, people that seek out being in a healing profession need to do their own healing. And sometimes they don't. And they're in a position where they're really, they, they become addicted, I feel like, from being needed by their clients. Like, ugh, I could spend a lot of time talking about how I can't say most, but a lot, some practitioners are not doing the work that they're preaching, and they're just causing more of an issue. Like the attachment is there. It's like you should absolutely be connected with the people that you're helping. But if you are not setting appropriate boundaries, you're really just adding to the problem. And I believe that that's the majority of the problem, is that practitioners are actually just fueling the problems that are already there. And so it's now we have a massive mental health crisis. It's like a lack of training, a lack of doing the inner work ourselves. I I will need a therapist just so that I can practice therapy in the right way. That's what I believe. So I just wanted to say that.
no, that's interesting to me because I think this stuff. If I could probably choose a different career path, I would choose like behavioral uh, uh, science or something like that. So, I don't know what it's called, but that stuff is interesting to me. And I sometimes I wondered, do the therapists you view them as having like all these answers to everything? Do they also just leave therapy and they're just in a wreck for just one day? Um, does that happen to them too, or are they able to analyze their own thoughts and behaviors in the same sort of way and deal with it better than just a normal person?
Well, we are normal people,
Yeah.
so it's on a spectrum. There are people that have, um, I want to say years of experience, but it doesn't have to be clinical. It doesn't have to be experience where, in a classroom or practicing therapy or even doing research or teaching. It could just be life experience because that's what we're dealing with is other human lives. But it's a spectrum, like there are people that, yeah, like I'm an incredibly sensitive person. So if I don't keep some boundaries, like, yeah, I'm gonna get it right. I'm dealing with trauma, like this, it's gonna really affect me. And I cry after sessions sometimes, but it's just like you were saying, I move through it, it's not, I have the resiliency to do that. But some practitioners no, they haven't developed that skill. And there's so many movies about it. There's so many movies of like terrible mental health professionals like dating their clients or like breaking up marriages they're supposed to like be helping fix. And like
Yeah.
there's so many bad movies. The majority of mental health movies are really bad. But yeah, it's a spectrum.
Okay. Well, yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. I have one final question, and then if you have a question that you wrote down or any other questions you want to ask,
Okay.
I'll leave that open. But my final question is, show is called Freedom to Fight. What does freedom look like to you?
Freedom, dude, that could be so many. That could be so many things.
Yeah.
Do you want me to put it in just in a broad sense or a martial arts sense or
However you want to answer. You can give me more than one answer.
okay. Freedom, I don't know, is being able to do or express yourself in the way that you want that doesn't hurt people un um what's the word? Without someone stopping you from doing it. Can't think of an eloquent word for that. Um Being able to do or express yourself in the way that you see fit without hurting other people, but also 100% pure and free without
Restrict.
restriction.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I don't want to turn your podcast into conspiracy hour, but
Hey, that's, I'm giving you freedom to answer however you choose.
yeah, I'll go with that. I'll go with that for right now.
Okay, that's a great answer. Okay, so if you have, I want to know what you wrote down.
Oh, I was thinking about the therapy things. I see a lot. I watch a lot of podcasts and stuff like that, and I watch podcasts. There's such a wide range, um, from people who have are on different sides of like social and political perspectives. But a common thing I see among all of them are commercials that are ads that pop up advertising therapy. Like you can, you know, digital therapy over the internet. You can have your
There.
Yeah, so you can have your therapy over the internet. You don't have to go to a place. You can find a person that works for you. And I just started thinking, what's going on with this? It just because so many podcasts do it and across, I was like, my brain immediately goes, something's going on here. Why? What is it? I can't figure it out yet. But why are all of these things advertising this digital therapy?
Well, it's been around, for a little while, but the pandemic really kind of because we couldn't be face to face without people being afraid of dying, like um it opened the door to that. And I know that it's not going anywhere. It's only gonna grow. But um when I started practicing here in Colorado in 2021, um people didn't want to meet me in person, even when restrictions were kind of dropped and we could do it safely. It just I'm still spooked. I understand why clients don't want to do that. So it's helped a great deal with accessibility, because somebody might have a computer and not a car, or a smartphone, but not have transportation to come to me. Or I've had clients that are running late, that, hey, can I just do a session in the car real quick,
Yeah.
or unfortunately, people that are in abusive dynamics, they'll have to hide it. They'll have to, okay, let me take my phone in a closet or what have you. But it's added to the accessibility of mental health care. And I I see a lot of good in it. Yes, there's the aspect of like being able to see someone in person, and there's different laws state to state, not like coming across in any inappropriate way to your clients. But I've had therapists give me hugs, and that really helps with healing, knowing that somebody actually cares about you. So there are things, there are disadvantages to teletherapy, but that's what I offer. I offer teletherapy, and eventually, I'll get an office, but it's not necessary, and I can reach more people this way. And I'm grateful for this addition. But yeah, there's downfalls there, especially when people transition to Zoom for meetings and things like that. And it was the crazy era of people like doing crazy stuff on Zoom, like
Yeah.
whatever, doing
Yeah.
something inappropriate in
Yeah.
a meeting. It's
Yeah.
like that's also a problem.
Yeah. Well, that's good to hear coming from you, because it's something I think about whenever I hear the ad. But it's good to hear someone, um, I don't know, who's in the know, who has some insight. Your thoughts on that? So thank you. I
Yeah,
can think
yeah.
about it when I
Thank
see
you.
the ad now.
So that was the only question. Do you have any other questions?
Um, no, not that I can think of right now.
You
I'm
know
just glad
what?
I was able to talk to you for more than 5 minutes. I was like, oh man, I'm gonna get on here, run out of things to say. We're gonna be in dead air, and it's not gonna be. You're gonna have to find new guests.
Well, you were great. And it's my job to come up with the questions. I said I only had one more question, but I didn't ask this question before. And I want to ask all of my guests this question, because you practice jujitsu. How do you feel about um training and drugs? And I don't really mean steroids, although that's a whole nother subject. But
Mhm.
I've noticed that a lot of people that train do use substances. I mean, people in general do.
Yeah.
But I want to know how you feel about that, and what you think about
I don't know. I'm not a good person to ask. I don't do it. Um, I can smell it sometimes when I have certain training partners. Eddie Bravo is my jujitsu idol. He's the reason I started doing jujitsu, and he's the biggest advocate you could get for it. He says it makes you more creative, and it. But I've also heard people say it makes them paranoid, and jujitsu mixing that with jujitsu gives them an anxious feeling. And I used to tap to claustrophobia when I was first starting out. So I don't even know. I don't know what it would do to me. But it doesn't bother me. If you want to do that, if it works for you, do it. Doesn't bother me at all.
it. I'm
Still,
assuming I'm assuming you're talking about cannabis.
Oh, yeah. What
Yeah.
do people do other ones?
I'm sure they do. I'm
I
sure
don't
they
know.
do all kinds of drugs.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe if somebody did some cocaine before they came and rolled to me, I'd have a different opinion. I was like, "Hey, we gotta ban this guy. We gotta ban the cocaine."
Maybe it would really improve him, but I don't, or her. I don't know. But I'm
Maybe
very
that's how you, maybe that's how you, counteract the steroids. You know your opponent's on steroids, you do some cocaine.
maybe. I've not explored in
I
that
don't know.
realm, but I'm an open person, so I'm
Yeah.
accepting of everybody, especially clients. Like I don't. There's no shame. People find relief and release and whatever
Mhm.
works for them, and that's my same perspective with addictions. Really, it's not the drug that's the issue. It's how you're using the drug, but it's much deeper than that. And so it's really the trauma part. So
Yeah.
uh, I just wanted to kind of to ask that question. I haven't asked other guests, and I'll have to make sure to write it down. But it's a big part of this. I think of what is it, high rollers.
Yeah.
It's part of the it's part of the sport. So
It's part of I think it's becoming more and more part of the culture of it. Seems like there's a few things that overlap with jujitsu, and that's one of them. Um, yeah, but I've just never. Man, I've maybe done that maybe twice in my life. Maybe I know I'm a weird, maybe the oddball in the jiu-jitsu community for that, but a couple times maybe. I did try DMT one time. You ever heard of
interesting.
DMT? Tried it. Had wanted to try it for so long. This was maybe like, I don't know, 10 years ago, longer. But I finally tried it. Didn't work. I can't tell you how disappointed I was. It didn't work.
Oh no.
I don't know.
I would you I've never tried it, but would you be open to trying it again?
Yeah, I would try it again because the person I got it from was it was my sister's boyfriend. He was very smart. I think he did some work for NASA, maybe. That's the whole
Interesting.
thing. Don't want to get into NASA, but he was very good at chemistry, and he made it. He said it worked for him, and I was like, and I'd wanted to try it because I had heard it on uh, different podcasts and stuff. And he said, "All right, this is what's going to happen. You're going to do it. Your heart's going to start beating fast. Just lay back, and then you'll go into your dream state thing." So I do it. My heart starts beating fast, and then nothing happens. What's going on? So I tried it again, same thing. Heart starts beating bad, nothing happens. And I was like, "Hey man, can you help me? Because I don't want to use all the DMT and waste it. I'm doing something wrong." So he helps me, and so I do it. My heart starts beating fast, and he's like slowly backing out of my room and closing the door. And I sit up out of my bed. I go, "Hey." He's like, "What?" And I said, "It's not working again." And we just couldn't figure it out. So I would try it again. Um, but I think it's hard to come by.
Interesting. I'm sure it's not, to be honest. Maybe where you are, but I
Maybe.
doubt it.
I don't ever hear
Honestly.
anyone
Drugs
talk
are
about it.
well, awesome. I Maybe I'll explore it, but I'm a little scared to do that. But I um I want to I'm gonna end our conversation, but I want to get some pictures of your. So maybe I'll like upload them to the
Okay,
video. But can I just get a better? Can you
sure. Let
grab
me
the
just
painting so I can see it?
grab her. I'll grab
It's so awesome.
that too close. That's too close.
It's too close. Yeah. Can you reorganize your room? So yeah, it's so amazing. There's a if you'll just like there we go. That's perfect.
Here.
Don't move. Okay. Good, good, good. Oh, that's so amazing. I'm gonna showcase your art, but I just really wanted to see that one and for my audience to see it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for coming on Freedom to Fight. I'm going to go ahead and end the conversation, but stick around just right after I end.
Okay, thanks for having me. I enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you. You as well. And that's it. I am still thinking over this conversation. It really just was very insightful, and I really hope that you found it to be the same. You can find Chris on Instagram. It's CFowlArt is his handle. I will leave those details in the description. You can find me on Instagram at freedom underscore the number 2 underscore fight. Also on Facebook and TikTok. I've got some really exciting episodes coming up and some new ideas I want to share. So stay tuned. If you'd like to reach out to me, my email has changed. It's freedom2fight@gmail.com. It's the word freedom, the word two, so TWO, fight@gmail.com. If you'd like to be on the show, if you're a musician, if you are an artist, if you are a mental health professional, if you're training in martial arts, reach out to me. I really appreciate all of your support. I'll leave the details of how to subscribe, and you'll be able to see the video. So thank you so much again for listening, and I'll see you again soon.